Hello and welcome everyone. Today we have Todd Marks with us and we are super excited because he owns and runs this massive business that's doing all this cool stuff with AI, and we're going to talk a little bit about AI today. So welcome, Todd. Why don't you say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, first, thanks for having me, Sasha. It's great to talk about education and AI. I started as a high school math and computer science teacher in the 90s, and then the internet happened, and I started my first company, my second, my third, and somewhere along the way, I had a lot of success in technology and now AI.
I love how you make it sound magic, like somewhere I had success. So much effort goes into that. So awesome on starting your own business. And I love how you said the internet happened, because it feels like we're in a moment like that now, and then AI happened. And so as AI really comes into business, starts automating tasks, how are you evolving your own business? Like, what new skills do your employees need? And how are you sort of approaching developing those skills?
Absolutely. So first off, we make and market software for clients. So very process oriented to make software, do marketing and websites, and now AI bots and agents. When AI, came out years ago, we've always done machine learning and natural language processing and low-level stuff, but we didn't really, grab onto it and say, this is a huge market, it's going to explode, and we're all in, which we are now. As soon as ChatGPT came out, I think it was the eye-opener for all of us that,
Right.
This is here to stay, and it's going to be a huge game changer in how the world operates, even though AI came out in the 50s. So I got in front of the company. Claude 3.7 came out recently. I got in front of them. I said, this is a game changer. Look at this. Instead of taking 2 months to make wireframes, now you can take a prompt that goes, straight to wires, and then you can just export it to Figma. Like I did in 5 minutes what takes us 2 weeks. And I was so excited. I thought everybody would think it was amazing. And next thing I know, everyone blew up HR's, phone, and they're like, he's replacing our jobs. Do I need to tune up my resume? What am I going to do? And I was just excited to show them how it would create efficiencies within the company. So we had to take a step back and really figure out, how do we roll AI out to the business? And so we started an ambassador program. So managers down to team members seems like you're going to replace them. But when it's peer-to-peer, they're that much more apt to want to try things out and explore and see how it'll make their lives easier. Because AI, frankly, is going to take all the stuff off our plates we don't want to do, the grunt work. Right. So that's one thing we're doing. But in parallel, despite trying to augment our current processes and create efficiencies and train up our existing resources, we have started a dedicated AI labs team that now is completely reinventing our processes around how we produce digital goods.
That is amazing. So I would agree with you. I also had a similar experience where folks are a little suspicious of AI, also the quality of AI, the safety of AI, the privacy issues. And we did a hackathon to sort of generate some excitement. We got some amazing things out of people when they actually look at the tools and use the tools. And okay, this saved me so much time in iteration. I get to the endpoint sooner. So with that, how have the expectations of your customers changed? Like, I know people think things happen auto-magically now, but it's not quite that way, right?
Well, it depends really on the industry. Certain industries adopt technology sooner and others adopt technologies later. If you look at construction industry, for instance, builders, developers, they largely operate in sticks and muds, and digital technologies, they were really slow to adopt. But when big players provided, access control, now every building has enterprise building has access control, right? And it's a technology they use. Well, the fact that they're so into making, buildings out of wood and plaster and stuff, they don't want to spend a lot of time on the digital. But the industry, architects, for instance, creating Revit and CAD drawings, and having to figure out all the electrical and the plumbing work. It's the same thing as my industry. To do a website, we have to draw every little pixel. We have to make these Figma diagrams. It's a lot of human labor producing a digital file. Well, the construction industry now is coming to us faster than any other industry. They were really slow to adopt, mobile and web application development, but they're really fast to adopt AI because they're realizing all that time to produce, the digital goods, by humans is inefficient, right? Having to draw every little electrical duct and every little wire. So that's an industry that was a little slow in adoption. Now they're really fast in adoption in AI. Education is an industry that is really based on human capital. And so they're generally slow to adopt AI internally, right? And they're even taking a step back for good reason. They're now making students not use mobile devices because, frankly, it's rotting their brain and causing, mental health crisis. But they're also not really adopting AI for that reason, too. But then innovator's dilemma. Now you have schools like yourself that's coming out AI first.
Right.
So, every industry is a little different.
Right.
Some are absolutely expecting AI. They're expecting efficiencies and costs to come down because, like making websites has gotten commoditized. Other industries just aren't there yet. And they don't know where to start.
Yep, absolutely. And it's so important that anyone who's learning knows how to use AI when it's appropriate, what it's good at, what it's not good at, but actually develops the skills, right? Like you can't, I'm 100% in agreement. You can't have people doing the simplest thing and rotting their brains. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to do good work when they're in the workplace. And that's sort of the point of education, at least ours. In terms of that, so you were talking about how in construction, they were initially not early adopters or slow to adopt. Now they're some of your first movers in this space. How do you see the pace of change overall in sort of in any industry or across industries? How do you see that pace of change like evolving in the next 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, there's some expression like it happens slowly and all at once. Right. So, we thought when AI was coming out that we knew it was going to be a game changer, and we knew within a couple of years, everyone's going to be using it. And now where we are, 3 years later, it's amazing. It's everywhere, right? Pervasive. But now at the same time, when you fast forward to where we've gotten to and you look, you're like, wow, it's coming on, fast. And, really the way I look at it is, the world's not going to have 3 classes anymore, right? It's going to have 2 classes, those that leverage AI and those that don't. So it's all about, it's your partner. You pair with it. It's cobotics. So you want to use AI to make your life easier, your work smarter, your work faster, right? Because ultimately what we're doing is we're moving away from, production capacity, like gross domestic product. AI is going to produce all these digital goods. Once we have humanoid robotics, it's going to absolutely produce physical goods. It's going to go to the store for us and come back without even the human driver, doing, Uber Eats or whatever, right? So then you have to focus on, if AI is doing all this grunt work we don't want to have to do anymore, what do we get to focus on? And it is actually the humanities. It's the thought work. It's the strategic thinking. It's the philosophy. It's the art, taking art to the next level, not the recreation that AI does, but the original thought. And that strategic thinking is just so important that our students have actually gotten away from these days. They're not as, inquisitive and curious, and they're not doing as much strategic thinking, and teachers are noticing this. And that's a problem, because that's actually what we need. We don't need to be memorizing facts anymore. We need to be doing strategic thinking.
Well, and you have, the default is you have all of the information now, right? The default used to be you have to go get the information. Yeah, now you don't even have to search through websites to find the information. It will be served up to you, and it's imperfect. It'll get better over time. But I'm 100% with you on, there will be 2 classes of those who work with AI and work with AI well, and those who don't know how to work with it. I am very much looking forward to household robots that can do laundry and dishes. I don't think that's like next week, but it will most definitely be helpful. There's a little bit of worry around folks who are coming out of universities right now with computer science degrees or highly technical degrees, as opposed to, those who are working in something like project management or, like working on that. How do you put strategic thinking behind the products that you're creating? What advice would you have for folks who are like extremely technical and not used to working with AI?
Yeah, just jump in. just head first, jump into it. Like, there is unemployment is increasing for college graduates. It's an issue. And if you're coming out of school with yesterday's skills, those are being replaced by AI. So unfortunately, universities, it takes a while to create curriculum, get curriculum approved, and then to deploy curriculum and teach students. And so generally that curriculum is a little behind. And if you think about like even computer science, when I first started teaching computer science, we were still teaching Fortran and Turbo Pascal, and those languages hadn't been used in years, but they're like, oh, it's a good teaching language, right? And you need to understand, there has to be some way to understand how, methods work, how to create objects and such. But the thing is, just do it with AI. Just go straight into AI, because the issue is whatever you're learning to write now, AI can produce, right? So Cursor is an amazing tool. It's an IDE for writing code, but you should be able to have AI write at least 50% of your code now. So you have to learn Cursor. You have to use the AI plugins. Git, which is a repo for code, now has Copilot. It'll write a lot of code for you.
Yeah.
Codium created a product called Windsurf that'll auto-generate websites for you. So maybe learn, how HTML, CSS, and Java works to make a website, but just learn the concepts and then go learn how to use a Codium Windsurf to generate the website itself. Because otherwise, AI is replacing that kind of grunt knowledge work. So, don't spend your time on it.
I love what you just said, grunt knowledge work, because I think that has so much to do with how we're going to evolve and how our economy is going to have to evolve, is getting rid of sort of that grunt knowledge work. But a lot of people are going to need to move into away from that grunt knowledge work and into more strategic knowledge work. And I think that's going to be a really interesting transformation. But I have diverged from our original purpose. So I wanted to thank you, Todd, so much. Is there any word of parting wisdom? What I hear a lot of just jump in and do it, but is there any additional tips or tricks you would advise for people to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you jump in and use AI, then you're going to be out in front of, this massive paradigm shift in the world. If you continue to think AI is going to replace your job, it absolutely will. So dig in, use it, and, and be a change agent.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right, yeah. Right? Only as applied to AI. Right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
You too.